So this is a brief, very rough presentation that's going to be sent to everybody, and we're going to take a look at what it's going to look like so that when everybody receives this, hopefully it'll be pretty clear what it is that we all need to do. So the first thing you see here is that this, of course, is the transportability document that leads you through everything, and these will be where you will be taking a look at filling out things. Now you're only going to be, as a support provider, initialing those things that indicate support provider. In this case, you can see that this person was a year 2 because they filled out only the year 2 column, and what you'll notice is that this part right here is all the BITSA department that completes it, whereas down here you'll notice it's not just BITSA, it is a support provider as well. Down here, BITSA and support provider. So those are some of the things that you're going to want to take a look at, and you will be required to look at. So moving on, we're going to go and take a closer look at completing the document. One of the things we give to be able to support this process is this kind of a checklist to kind of make it a little easier. If this is done really well, then for the most part there's just no reason that there has to be any redo. So this is a checklist. It is not the document itself. The first one I showed you was the transportability document. So what you're going to notice here are a couple of things. One, that you're going to need to have your teacher look at completing fact evidence, right, that they show that all their modules have cleared. 2, that they're going to take a look at their individual induction plan and how we go about ensuring that that was done properly. 3, the continuum of teaching practice summary sheet. 4, the continuum of teaching practice booklet, the book itself. And then we go down here to the induction journal, number 5, if we're counting this by number here, and support provider log. So those are the main components that you're going to be working with your participating teacher to make sure that they've completed these really well. The last thing, and this is just for the year 2 people, just year 2, they're specifically looking at clearing their credential at this point. So what they're going to need to provide additionally is their current CPR card and the application for their clear credential. So that's kind of exciting. So moving on, what you'll notice is fact completion, which is the first thing on the list. It's a pretty simple process. Bottom line is there are a variety of ways you can show that. In some cases, people received this saying that it was complete. There's a little like a stamp or something, and there's an initial, and it might say complete on it, right? So that definitely shows that things are complete. The other thing would be a letter, and the letter is obviously a real simple way for us to say, hey, look, you did it. It's great. So that's fine. If in other cases they haven't done it, well then that's problematic, right? But we want the letter that shows that they've actually completed it. This particular individual had some revisions to do, and thankfully was able to clear them, so no problem there. We move into the next phase on this document and on the checklist here, which is the individual induction plan. And so this is where we're going to spend a little bit of time taking a look at this, because it is probably where people have, I don't want to say the most confusion, but surely it's where the confusion can begin, right? So the individual induction plan, as you I'm sure remember, is really taking a look at a couple of things. One of the first things is, do they have a CSTP goal? Do they have an induction goal? And have they attended professional development that aligns with these goals? In this case, you can see this particular individual went above and beyond. What we require is that they basically show 1 CSTP goal and 1 PD that aligns with that. If they are able to show that they've got those 2 things, they're good to go. We also require 1 induction standard as a focus and 1 PD that relates to that induction standard, and they're good to go. as I said, this person chose to do more, and a lot of people do absolutely like to do more, and we don't frown upon that, for sure. As a matter of fact, we had teachers this year telling us that they really were looking forward to try to attend all the trainings, and that's a good thing, right? So certainly that's not a problem. If that is the case, then what happens is people normally take a look and create a document like this, and they basically show how it aligns, right? In this case, you can see this person went to a GLAD training, they ran out of room, so they put their observations on this sheet, and all of that is perfectly fine. But going back to the original IIP and what we're looking at here, so great, this is fabulous. We've got somebody who has very clearly articulated that they have a goal for their CSTP, and it's an absolute no-brainer. All we have to do is look down here on the action plan area and see that there's a match between what they said they were going to use as a focus and the PD that attended. Not a problem. That's exactly what we want. We want to be able to whip right through these and not send one of them back. Just as easily so, we've also looked at the induction standard here. They were able to find one and pick one out that they wanted to focus on, and then they attended 2 trainings. In this case, this person did 2 trainings that related to that. So that's all great and wonderful. But the other meaty part of all of this, and the part where, quite honestly, you really are an important piece, is how they applied this PD and the results. And quite honestly, at this point in time is a really great opportunity for these teachers to take a look and see the quality of what they wrote. Was it really a good, I guess, evidence of their best application? So if they've gone to this training, did they come back and did they actually use some of these ideas? And in this case, you can read this teacher talks about the afternoon of the presentation, went to the IMC and made up laminated signs. They came back and, boy, they really seemed excited about using this training, which is wonderful. Then we need to take a look over here is what exactly happened to the results. What did it do in the classroom for student learning and for teachers' instruction, right? So as a support provider, that's something you really want to guide. The same with any other PD that's on here. So this person attended a PD. What did they do to apply it, and what was the outcome for students and the teacher? The same with the induction standard. How did they apply it? What was the student outcome? So those are the parts I think that are pretty critical. Of course, the other thing we need is proof of attendance. So in this particular case here, you can see that this person, I just took some samples here. This is the CSTP evidence of attendance. This is the induction standard evidence of attendance. They were year 2, so the focus was English learners. There's their evidence of that. And then the classroom observations, and there should be 2 of them. All right, so basically, this is the piece that just shows, look, I have proof that I actually attended. In some cases, the other thing that they could use is something called the milestone report. If the trainings they attended were through BITSA induction, we have a milestone report, and so in some cases that might be something that our teachers can also use to put some of this evidence together. All right, so we're moving on to the Continuum of Teaching Practice Summary. The summary is this little checkbox, and you've seen this a few times this year. And the important piece for us to remember on this is that indeed they have to select one element per standard. So what you see here is an entire standard. In this case, standard 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, 4.4, 4.5. So what we're saying is, look at the standard. Choose the one that you really feel you might have the most evidence for, right? Choose the one maybe you really grew, you demonstrated growth. Because what you then need to do is show evidence of that. So in this particular case, this person highlighted 4.3. So what we'll see later is that they actually selected to show, that's 1.3, I guess. They then selected pieces to show how they did on that. What they needed to show that was a support provider observation. they also needed some sort of an artifact. Now, on our documents, you'll see that we write that we want fact artifacts. My apologies. This is going off the chart here. But in most cases, you'll see that we say a fact piece of evidence or a fact artifact, right? Well, it's okay if they go outside of that and they take pictures of their classroom to show it, or a most recent thing that they've done. All we want to convey here is that really, honestly, fact provides all the evidence they're going to need for this. It really is a very comprehensive and complex program that allows teachers to demonstrate that they're doing all of this. But if they want to go outside of that, no problem. In this particular case, though, in all cases, for every single element that's outlined, you will need a support provider comment that relates to the standard that you highlighted on the summary form. And then you will need another piece that actually supports that. Okay, so let's think about that for a second. Here's the one I chose. I chose, to me that looks like a 4. But anyway, whatever it is, right? I chose this particular one here. I chose that, and I know that I have support provider observation notes that support that, and that show that I'm really doing a good job in that area. Not only that, but I also have other pieces of evidence, another piece of artifact, right? Maybe student work, maybe something from my modules that supports that. So we really want people to pick things that show and highlight how good they are, right, as teachers. So that's one thing to remember. The other thing, though, to remember as a support provider, because you're going to be, or you, if you haven't already, writing observation notes,